Have you ever noticed how one small symptom can completely change the direction of your day? You wake up with a little extra fatigue, a headache, a racing heart, a new ache or pain, and within seconds, your mind starts asking, is this a flare up? Am I getting worse? Did I do something wrong? What if I'm back at square one? Before the symptom has even had time to settle in, your entire emotional state has been affected. But what if the symptom wasn't actually the thing that stole your peace? What if it was the story that your brain immediately attached to it? Welcome back to the Health Bridge podcast. I'm Holly B, a holistic health guide, lupus warrior in remission, and someone who spent more than 20 years learning that healing isn't just about changing the body and fixing problems, it's about changing the relationship that we have with it. Last week, we were talking about seeing our body differently. We challenged the ingrained belief in the autoimmune world that our body is now the enemy. And today, we're taking the next step because even when you begin believing that your body isn't the enemy, your nervous system may still believe that you're in danger. And that changes everything. So be sure to listen all the way to the end because we're answering the question, how can you respond to symptoms without immediately letting fear take over? When you are battling an autoimmune condition or a chronic illness, it's really easy for every symptom to feel like a complete emergency. Your brain isn't overreacting because you're weak or there's something wrong with you. Your brain is just trying to protect you. It's literally doing what it's supposed to be doing. If you've lived through a scary diagnosis, scarier symptoms, unexpected flare ups, medications that didn't work, doctors that dismiss your symptoms, hospital visits, months or maybe even years of total uncertainty as to what is going on with your body, well, your brain has learned that symptoms matter. It's become incredibly good at scanning for danger and finding any little sign that could be something that you should worry about. Again, that is not failure. That's pure survival. It is literally what your brain is built to do. I remember way back when my symptoms of lupus started showing. I didn't know it was lupus yet, but it started with hair falling out on my scalp. And I remember that first day where I really noticed a big clump of hair that had come out in my brush. And my brain saw that and I immediately reacted and I started spiraling. I started spiraling into everything that was wrong with me. What other symptoms did I have? Was this off? Was that off? What did this mean? Like, I spun into embarrassment, it spun into what's wrong with me physically, it spiraled into what's wrong with me mentally. It was like my whole life started spiraling before my eyes just because I noticed this hair coming out in my brush, and I didn't know what it meant. I know now that my brain was just coming up with all sorts of different scenarios of what I did wrong, what's going on, what's gonna happen to me in the future. Can any of you relate to that type of spiral? It just your brain immediately starts tapping into fear and uncertainty and creating assumptions, and they all feel like they could be true. So we start believing those stories. And one of the biggest shifts in my healing journey came when I realized that a symptom and the story that I attached to that symptom were not actually the same thing. For example, fatigue being my largest symptom that I've had over the last 20 years, if I noticed that I was feeling much more fatigued than normal on any random day, my brain would start going into the story of crap, I'm flaring up or I'm going backwards. I was doing so well. I ruined all of my progress. Like, I shouldn't have eaten that. I shouldn't have done that. I pushed myself too hard. I'll never get better. This is never going to stop happening. I'm always going to go through these cycles. I'm back to square one. But you know what? Those stories aren't facts. And that's what I realized. They are just interpretations because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. And one of the greatest gifts that we can actually give back to ourselves is learning to notice the difference between what I know and what I'm assuming. What is the story that I'm telling? Because there are always two experiences happening at any given time, the symptom and the story behind the symptom. So, this is where I want to get really practical so you can learn how to go from reacting to a symptom to responding to a symptom. The old pattern, the one that you're used to, usually looks something like this: symptom, you feel it, you notice it, fear gets triggered, the story starts running. It could be a catastrophic story based on assumptions. You go into panic mode. You start Googling, you start overthinking everything that you did to lead up to this and everything that could be going wrong because of this. It triggers more fear, and then the spiral just continues. When we intentionally start partnering with our body, it invites something totally different. So, this is going to look like symptom pops up. You take an intentional pause, allow curiosity to come up, and then you can respond from there. And that pause might only last a few seconds, but it can change everything for you because now instead of automatically asking, well, what if I'm getting worse? What if I'm back to square one? That curiosity creates different questions, such as, what is my body communicating? What evidence do I actually have that this symptom means I'm getting worse? Is the symptom familiar? What support can I give my body today to help manage the symptom?
Really quick, Holly B here. I just wanted to interrupt the podcast to ask you for a quick favor. Can you take just a moment to like and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you are listening in on? It makes a world of a difference. And the reach of this podcast, it takes like literally under 10 seconds. So go do that right now. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And now back to the episode.
2 episodes ago, we were talking about how the questions we ask around our healing journey and our health experience can change the trajectory of how we heal. And so I want to tie this back to that. When we ask these more curiosity based questions and more intentional questions that open up the door for partnership with our body, these questions can really shape the way we experience our healing. And in fact, it starts to retrain our nervous system to a whole new pattern of response rather than our old pattern of immediate reacting based on fear. And when we're talking about safety in the body, because that's really what we're talking about creating here, most people believe that I'll finally feel safe when all of my symptoms disappear and everything goes back to normal. But what I want to challenge is, what if safety isn't something that we're waiting for? What if it's something we can create today by learning to pause and respond versus react and make a story and make assumptions? And we can start doing that even while our symptoms still exist. Because honestly, if your peace, if your safety depends on perfect health, I can tell you, sister, that is never going to happen. So, partnering with your body means creating moments of safety, even in the middle of uncertainty. It's not about pretending that your symptoms aren't real or not getting stuck in toxic positivity or completely blocking our acknowledgement of what's going on. That's not it at all. We're not ignoring our body here. We're simply reminding ourselves that experiencing a symptom does not mean we have to immediately trigger into catastrophe mode. So the next time that a symptom pops up, I want you to pause, and instead of reacting immediately, I want you to try this. The first thing I want you to do is just to acknowledge, say, I notice I'm feeling, fill in the blank, extra fatigue, headache, aches and pains, and just notice it without judgment. Next, I want you to take a pause and breathe. Just slow your breathing down intentionally. Take 5 breaths fully in through the stomach, through the chest, and out, in and out through the nose. This is you signaling to your body that you're safe enough to pause before you react. Now, I want you to create awareness. Just ask yourself, what story is my mind creating around this? Bring it back to the facts, then question, what do I actually know to be true right now? And then choose one better question to ask. Something like, what does my body need from me right now? And then observe the answer. Maybe you need to eat. Maybe you need to hydrate. Maybe you need to rest, or maybe you need to get up and move around a little bit. Maybe you need to take your medication, or maybe you just need to show yourself a little more compassion in that moment. Now, there is something that I've noticed over the years, both in my own healing and in working with and talking with other women. Sometimes what makes a symptom so frightening isn't actually the symptom itself, it's the story that that symptom awakens within us, where maybe a wave of fatigue doesn't just feel like fatigue. Maybe it feels like I'm going to let everyone down, I'm going to let myself down. Maybe brain fog isn't just something frustrating. Maybe it's telling you I'm falling behind. Or maybe canceling plans with your friends isn't just disappointing. There's something deeper. Maybe it reinforces a fear of nobody can ever count on me and I can't count on myself. Here's the thing though, is that I don't think that chronic illness actually writes those stories. I think that it often reveals the stories that were already there, stories that we might not even have realized that we were carrying, and patterns that we didn't know we were running on. And we're going to spend some time exploring those stories in a future episode. But for today, I really just want you to notice this. When a symptom appears, there are two things happening at once: the symptom and the story. Healing can begin when we finally learn to tell the difference between those two things. So, the next time a symptom appears for you, I don't want your first question to be, what's wrong with me? I want it to be, can I pause before I decide what this means? Because that pause, that might be where your partnership with your body truly begins. If today's episode encouraged you, come find me over on YouTube and leave a comment and tell me what's one story that you notice yourself attaching to your symptoms, and what's one better question that you're going to ask yourself this week instead. Please take a moment to like and subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and share this episode with somebody that needs this reminder today. Every share helps another woman discover that healing doesn't have to be a journey of fear. And if you're looking for a simple way to partner with your body each day, download my free daily Thrive Guide and Wellness Tracker. It's designed to help you slow down and become more aware of your body and build the small daily habits that support healing. You can also book a free healing breakthrough session with me where we will explore what's keeping you stuck and identify your next step towards healing. Remember, symptoms deserve your attention, not your fear. And a symptom doesn't have to decide the direction of your day, physically or mentally. So your first thought about a symptom doesn't have to be your final conclusion. Remember, every bridge needs a foundation that you can't see. And my hope is that together we'll build one that's strong enough to carry you from fear to freedom. I'll see you next week on the next episode of the Health Bridge podcast.